Welcome friends to the 2023 VW Golf R. In this video I want to answer the question of which transmission option should you go with if you are lucky enough to get an allocation or able to purchase this car at MSRP. Should you go with the manual or should you go with this 7-speed dual clutch transmission? But before that, I will quickly just get this out of the way. For 2023, there are no changes with the Golf R aside from a 20th anniversary edition. That's the only thing that they have introduced. The automatic version of the Golf R is going to cost an additional $800 more to purchase. But other than that, there are no other packages or features that you have to select with the Golf R. These cars pretty much come fully equipped and fully loaded. So you pay $800 more for the auto or the dual clutch. One benefit of that is you are going to get slightly better fuel economy. This model is rated to get 23 mpg in the city and 30 out on the highway. When you go with the 6-speed manual, your mpg drops to 20 mpg in the city and 28 out on the highway. Fuel economy sort of kind of matters with a car like this. After all, this is like that Swiss Army knife, the car that does it all. It's the perfect daily, it's refined, it's smooth, it's fast, and having great fuel economy on top of that helps. So that's definitely one benefit of going with the automatic. The second benefit is you do get more torque. The horsepower remains the same at 315 horsepower, but the torque is 310 pounds-feet for this dual clutch, and it's 280 for the manual. Now, I'm gonna have to stop this right here because various car outlets, for whatever reason, they are using that 310 pounds-feet of torque number for the dual clutch models, but on the official VW North American website, it says that the dual clutch models of the Golf R produces 295 pounds-feet of torque, and the manuals produce 280 pounds-feet of torque. I'm going to go with those numbers. So yes, the dual clutch does produce more torque still, but it's maybe not as much as some of these other car outlets and even some authorized VW dealership blogs are suggesting with that 310 pounds-feet of torque. If somebody in the comments section knows where that number came from, let us know in the comment section. But for right now, I am going to go based off of the VW website, and I'm going to say that the dual clutches produce 15 more pounds-feet of torque compared to the manuals. Car and Driver did a 0 to 60 test on these dual clutch Golf R's. This thing did 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, and I think the manual was around 4.5 seconds. Fuel economy, specs, that's all nice. It's cool that this is better on paper, but the main highlight, the main reason why one would go after one of these top spec, top trim level Golf products, or the Civic Type Rs or a Focus RS, I know they don't make that anymore, but you get the idea. The point of all these cars is to do what? Is to drive them. And which transmission option is the most satisfactory to drive? Well, I spent a week in both vehicles, and in my honest opinion, I prefer this dual clutch to drive more. Here I have it in sport mode right now. Let's put it into race. That is awesome. No, that's really awesome. This thing is fast, very fast. This dual clutch responds extremely well. The thing makes satisfactory upshifting noises, that little farting effect, right? I love that. It sounds cool, and I totally understand why people buy these things and they just totally void the warranty by putting a stage 3 tune on it and downpipes and all sorts of crazy stuff, because this sounds pretty great from the factory, but you can enhance this more with the aftermarket, and I get why people go nuts with it. It's such a small, cool, darty, go-kart like driving experience, and you put the extra power and the extra sound effects in it. It's such a crazy, cool automobile to drive. There is a bit of turbo lag off the line, especially in the comfort mode, but that pretty much goes away when you have it in race mode like this, and that's what I prefer. And it's just so effortless, so sharp, so precise, this automatic transmission, or this dual clutch, whatever. The manual transmission, when I experienced it, it had long, saggy throws, and it just wasn't that enjoyable for me. In a performance car, my preference in a manual transmission is those short shifters, those short, snappy shifters. That's what I prefer. Okay, some of my all-time favorite manual transmissions that I have personally experienced, it's the new Acura Integra A-Spec model that I recently tested. I also really like the Tremec manuals found in things like the Challengers and the Camaros, and I also like the Miata manual transmission. So this is what I prefer when I drove that Golf R. I mean, that manual was more like a casual driving experience. I mean, it's okay for daily driving. It was very easy, very smooth, nice long shifts. It's satisfactory in its own way, but in a high performance car like this, I just felt like it didn't match the character of the Golf R to have a shifter like that. If you've driven the Golf R, if you know what I'm talking about, if you resonate with this, leave your thoughts below in the comments, or if I'm just completely wrong, you can also let me know as well in the comment section. That's just what I felt regarding the manual transmission. I do love manuals, going through your own gears. It is great, but this thing is just such a rocket that it is fun to have it in an automatic version like this. I feel like it's easier to get those pops from the exhaust and the upshift noises when you have this dual clutch here. But if you are purchasing these products, getting the manual could make it more desirable in the used car market. That's definitely a benefit of the manual. Cars like this are going away for the most part, so getting it in a manual could help. It's a lot like the Porsche products. Everybody wants like a manual GT3 Porsche or GT4. The reality is, with a lot of those Porsche products, for street driving at least, they have really tall gearing. When you're driving it on the street only, it's not really that satisfactory. The Porsches I'm talking about, it's kind of set up for track driving, and that's the thing. It depends on what you're doing with these cars as well. I personally think if you're street driving the Golf, which I think most people are, I think getting this automatic is pretty awesome. Perhaps in the GTI trim, I think the manual will be a little bit better. I feel like I enjoy manuals in slower cars more than I do really fast ones. I would rather have an automatic Hellcat than a manual one. Like they make a manual Hellcat. That's cool, that's special. That'll probably have pretty good residual value in the future. It'll be like a classic car, but personally, as a thing to drive, I would just prefer an automatic. Back in the day, like early 2000s and the 90s, and even before that, automatics just sucked really bad. So the default that everybody wanted, especially if you're a driver, was a manual transmission. If you knew how to drive one, going through your own gears, that was the only way to have any form of satisfaction with those early generation automatics. Nowadays, these transmissions, they've come so far. You have stuff like this, your PDKs, your 8-speed ZFs, and they're just so quick, so snappy, and satisfactory to use, especially for street driving, that it's kind of what I prefer. Again, some of you might see that as blasphemy. Some of you might say things like, oh, he's not a real car enthusiast and all that. Well, the reality is, I am an enthusiast. I do love to drive, and these thoughts and opinions, they're not just rooted in nothing like a lot of the internet trolls. Everything I'm saying here comes from the experience I've had driving hundreds of vehicles, okay? I'm not some idolater that worships cars or anything like that, or sits at home and looks at pictures of these things all day. No, I've driven a lot of these vehicles, and I've owned a lot of vehicles myself personally, and all these thoughts and observations are the result of, years of driving and spending a lot of seat time in different vehicles. If you tried, or if you're an owner of the manual, let us know your thoughts, okay? I'm sure people are going to spread this on their forums, and they're going to, gaslight me, and that's fine, let them do their thing. But just to summarize here, with the dual clutch automatic, you are paying $800 more, which is a con. But the pros are better fuel economy, and in my personal opinion, a little bit more fun. I think you can get this thing to crackle and pop and make those farting effects a little bit easier with this dual clutch as well. The pros of the manual transmission, well, it's a free option. That's just what the vehicle comes with. And your resale value will most likely be better. It'll be a more desirable product in the used market if you ever decide to sell it. And I suppose if you haven't seen my review of the Golf R, I guess quickly I'll let you know about this. It drives amazing. I love the handling of it. This 4Motion all-wheel drive, I mean, it sticks to the road like glue. The capabilities of this product is very high. These Golf Rs, they're just fully loaded. They come with every feature that you could ever want. You got heated and cooled seats in the front. You got heated seats in the back. You also have vents to play with back there. You have a lot of the features that you would typically find in a luxury car, honestly. The seats are amazing. I like the carbon fiber design of them. They're extremely comfortable and supportive. The visibility is perfect. This Fender audio, or I'm sorry, this Harman Kardon audio system, it's probably all the same junk. That does not sound that great, and this infotainment and its over-reliance on all the touch haptics and the touchscreen in general means that you have to rely on this screen for all your climate, and that's really the only thing I don't like. So a subtle lag in the comfort mode, the climate control being embedded completely into the touchscreen, and the not so great sound system. Those are the only true cons I can come up with. Other than that, really a sublime driving experience. And now that we are stopped, rear seating space, you can definitely fit adults back there. They're not stretching out back there like it's a Maybach or anything. Trunk size is huge. There is no spare tire with this car. That's just something to note. We just have regular Bridgestone summer tires here. They do a good job in gripping you, but they're not run flats. I guess you could just buy like a spare tire for this and fit it in the back. It's not a big deal. And it is a little bit more low slung in here, but I don't have too much of an issue getting in and out of it. I like the size. It's nice to be back in a car that's not an SUV, that has a much smaller footprint. It is cool to be in this and just dart around traffic, easy to park. Really enjoyed living with this product, and I think most of you will be as well. It's a little bit on the stiffer side, but nothing that takes away from the daily drivability of this car. In fact, you prefer this car to be a bit on the stiffer side. It adds to the character, and it's the character that fits a Golf R the most. Anyway, hopefully this answered some of your questions on if you were confused about getting the dual clutch or the manual transmission. As always, I would still like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and all the other people that are going to slander me on the forums, that's fine too. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have my next video on the end screen here. Click on it and I will see you there.